Hey there, it's Lucas Catton, and I have some exciting news to share. It's super exciting. Strap in, because this may take a bit. So, if you've seen a couple of the recent videos and saw that Mike Rinder and Leah Remini were gracious to have me on their podcast, the Fair Game podcast, which is a follow-up to their Emmy award-winning show, originally on A&E, now on Netflix, called Scientology in the Aftermath. So shortly after that happened, and I revealed on there that some tactics were taken recently, where, for example, somebody called the police on me to try and have welfare check done on my kids, and just some ridiculous other things that were sort of coincided with that and have continued to play out. And what I just found last night was the smear site that the Church of Scientology created about me is back up again. It's been down since at least 2016. And since my appearance on there, which it went up, by the way, the day that myself and Eric Tenario were featured on NBC's Rock Center, where they did a follow-up piece regarding Narconon and the deaths at Narconon Arrowhead that were going on. And that was right around the time also my first book came out, the Have You Told All and Inside My Time with Narconon and Scientology. So I detail a lot of that stuff that was coming out. So in retaliation, they created this lame attempt at a smear site about me. Now, my personal website is lucascatton.com. That's LucasCatton.com. They happened to purchase, shame on me for not doing it, but they would have picked something else, it doesn't matter, lucascatton.org. So today you can go to lucascatton.org and see the site that they created back in April of 2013, and then eventually took down, and then now just happened to be put back up. Now, interestingly, back when it was put up, there was a very astute member of the online collective Anonymous who found that site was put up under another domain name known to be owned by the Church of Scientology. And they documented on the servers where it was and all that kind of stuff. So it was pretty great. They shared that, and that was part of Project Chanology, I believe, which was the section of Anonymous that was geared toward exposing Scientology. For more on that, you can go back to like the Tom Cruise video. A lot of stuff happened in 2008 and things like that. So fast forward. Today, I happened to go ahead and look to see what servers this site is on. And sure enough, it's on the same servers as able.org, which is Scientology's one of their branches of Sea Org members, people who sign billion-year contracts, who work for them, that owns the copyrights to Narconon. So able.org is hosted on the same site that my smear site, lucascatton.org, happens to be hosted on as well. What a coincidence. That also happened right after, this podcast aired that I was on it. And it's funny because you'll see in there things, for example, something called success stories that I wrote back when I was at Narconon and a member of Scientology. And it's something that they do. It's actually a statistic that they track. Success stories are something that they push on people to write. And if you don't write one, then you must not have achieved whatever result they're hoping you to achieve. And so they send you back to do things again. Or they think that you are somehow have BIs, which they call bad indicators. And that if you're not writing a success story, then something must be wrong and it must be your fault. So everybody has to write success stories. And you quickly learn that the more embellished they are, the more overhyped that things are, the more praise you get in return. The more attaboys, the more pats on the back, and the more freedom as a result. So there's some success stories that I wrote back then. And remember, this was when I was a true believer. I was very much into it. Similar to, and there's some videos on there too, of some interviews that they did with me right before I left. And it was kind of funny because, they're using these as examples of how I must have somehow done, not be telling the truth or whatever. But if you watched the aftermath, any of the episodes, you notice at the beginning that there's a clip of Leah Remini, for example, on camera talking about at a Scientology event at Celebrity Center International in Los Angeles about, extolling the virtues of Scientology and how, that's the only thing to save the planet or whatever it was. And there's plenty of video available out there of Mike Rinder speaking at international events to thousands of Scientologists. So, yes, when people are true believers and they think that they're going to save the world and things like that, until they find out the truth about what's really going on behind all of it, behind the organization, behind Hubbard, behind everything, they document these things. And then they intend to use those against you. So there you go. So that's lucascatton.org. That's what's on there. You can check it out for yourself. I encourage you to. And you can check out the server information yourself. I took some snapshots of it. If I need to. And if you haven't seen the Rock Center show, by the way, I included, there was a member of Anonymous who had mirrored the video and put it up on YouTube. So I included down below in the description a link to that video of that full interview that Eric and I appeared in. This was back in, I think we filmed it in New York in March. It was either late February or early March of 2013, and then it aired April 5th, I believe, Friday, April 5th of 2013. So there you go. So here we are, years later. They're still, kicking and screaming, trying to do something. They've shrunk tremendously. And, where that first book ended off, Have You Told All, which I had re-released, a slightly edited version of that. I re-released that, I don't know, last year, a couple years ago, something like that. And then I also did a follow-up called Reconnection. And it talks about my involvement in all these criminal and civil cases against them for wrongful death, among many other things, in multiple Narconon centers, and how, detailed how the network collapsed and how it's very irrelevant today. However, there still are some centers that are open, and there still are some that are trying to open and things like that, even though they've been shut out of Canada, and a bunch of them have been shut down. And Arrowhead, which used to have 250 plus people and, brought in, $300,000 a week in revenue and things like that, is now just a shell and has been a shell for a long time. There's been rumors that they are trying to inject more money into it to renovate it again. When Scientology purchased the facility for Narconon, and it opened as Narconon Arrowhead from Narconon Shalako. We moved down there in 2001. Able purchased the building and paid for renovation, and then Narconon paid Able rent for that building. So Able actually owns it, or the Social Betterment Properties Corporation, I believe, is the official owner of it, or was at one time. So a lot of this rambling for a couple of reasons. One, obviously they didn't like things being re-exposed. So my appearance on this sparked them to repost this thing. There's also some other behind the scenes court action that's going on that happens to be timely, that they should be really scared about, to be honest with you. They should be really scared about. And there's a couple different things. Interestingly enough too, I talk about a Reconnection about some of these criminal investigations that occurred and how they fizzled out and what the deal was. And there's some other criminal activity that has occurred and probably still occurs, that goes under, let's say, criminal negligence, for example, or that goes under, even racketeering. There's wire fraud. We talk about insurance fraud. That was rampant insurance fraud. One very simple, basic example of rampant insurance fraud is billing for services that you don't even have qualified staff to deliver. You don't have licensed therapists to deliver the counseling that is required by insurance companies in order to reimburse providers or people who are insured for those services that were delivered. So if you write on there that, I did, a full day of residential treatment, and you submit a claim for that, but their regulations require that you have a master's level licensed clinician therapist overseeing the whole operation, and you don't have any of those because you don't believe in them, because Scientology doesn't believe in them, Narconon doesn't believe in them. Any of whom who have been hired for nominal purposes only, and don't actually run any of the organization or counseling activities. They don't do the therapy. I would be happy if they would like to prove that wrong and show that otherwise, unless they are Scientologists and they use their license and credentials to say, see, I'm doing counseling here, as they crack open their next L. Ron Hubbard book to do so. So there's going to be a lot more on this coming up in the near future, but check it out. lucascatton.org. You can see this beautiful masterpiece of work. If you want to see some other stuff, you can go to lucascatton.com and check that out. If you care to, feel free to subscribe. Like I said, there will be some more videos coming out about some of these things. And I have now a special project coming up that is going to detail some of the untold history of Narconon. So I'm excited about that. I look forward to hearing from you. If you have any questions, hit me up anytime, lucascatton.com, and I will do my best to help answer them. And if not, anything that you can do to help spread the word and to shine light on just the atrocities that these people continue to try and get away with, and then play like they're the ones that are victims. Like I've been recently said that I'm attacking their religion. Couldn't be further from the truth. I don't care what you or anyone else believes, as long as it's not harming other people, as long as it's not actively causing harm to me, to my family members, to my loved ones, or to you, or to anyone else. I don't care about that. You believe what you want to believe. And so I'm not attacking any religion. What I'm doing is separating out the actions that are harmful, the things that are done that hurt people. If they would stop those, everybody would leave them alone, because nobody would actually join them. The more light that shines on their activities, the less people want to join. So let's make it all as available as possible. Thank you to Mike and Leah. Thank you to Netflix. Thank you to all the people who have been on their show, on their series, on the TV series. Thank you for continuing with the podcast. Thank you for continuing to expose what these people are doing. And as I mentioned in a previous video, I hope that somebody in the government somewhere is going to take action and remove this criminal enterprise's tax-exempt status, so that we can go after some of the things that they, quote unquote, feel is their religious right or their First Amendment protection that they're hiding behind. Mike Rinder has some great stuff on that. You can go to mikerindersblog.org, I believe, and check that out. I'll put a link below for that as well. Thanks again. Take care. Stay tuned.